Today, we're going to talk about part 2 of making this password generator, so let's get into it. What's good, y'all? Thanks for coming through. Today, we're going to talk about making a password generator, and this is part 2 where we're going to create a UI around it so that we can make something functional for users out there. And so we're going to do 3 things. We're going to create a password generator that has a button that calls a command to generate the password. We're going to create a small text box where that password is going to get generated into the text box. And then we're going to also create a copy to clipboard function so that we can copy it to the clipboard and paste that password somewhere else. And then we're also going to talk about a couple more modules where we're going to use the random module again. We're going to use tkinter, which allows us to create this UI. And then we're also going to use pyperclip, which allows us to copy to clipboard. So we're going to do all those things. So let's get into it. All right, so let's start. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to fire up our terminal. And we're gonna navigate through there again like we did in the first video. So let's figure out where I'm at, and then I'm gonna change directories and go back to that same project folder that we worked in the first time around. So I'm gonna go to my Nate Tech folder and then go there, see where I'm located, and then I'm gonna launch VS Code. So code.period. All right, so I'm there. And then the first thing I need to do, I've already had my password generator file open. So if you guys have not created it yet, go ahead and create it. And just as a reminder, new file, name it whatever you want to name it with the extension .py, and that will create your file. Starting off, so first thing we need to do is we know that we're going to use a couple modules here. So I want to use the random module again, and I want to use tkinter, and I also want to use pyperclip, which allows me to use the clipboard function on the computer. So let's name those out real quick. So I'm gonna go import random, import tkinter, and then import pyperclip. Okay, so we want to call those modules, and then the next important thing we need to do is also install them too into our environment. So I want to make sure that I got my environment interpreter selected. So I am in Nate and Tech environment, and then I'm gonna press Control tilde to open up my terminal. I'm gonna type in pipenv install tk, which is short for tkinter, and that's the directions on the website of how to install tkinter. So that's installed now, and then I'm gonna go pipenv install pyperclip here, and that's gonna run, install, and done. And then I can just do a quick check, pipenv graph. All right, so those 2 items are installed. If I just type in pipenv, that will just show different methods to run. And I just ran the graph here. So it shows a graph of your installed dependencies. All right, moving on. First thing, we're gonna rewrite our password generator that we did in our first video, and we're going to actually make it better and cleaner. So we used a lot of lines of code in that first one, and the reason being is because I wanted to display a lot of different things we can do within Python. This time we're going to do what you call refactoring, and what that is like, for example, we wrote that password generator out, and then we want to come back to it to make updates, and so we can refactor it to make it cleaner and run better. So think of this on a larger scale with large applications. You know, those things need to be cleaned up. You fix bugs. Okay, so we're gonna write this first function out, and we're gonna call it generate password. So we're gonna type in generate password, open and close, and then characters, and we're gonna use all the characters in one line of string. So I'm gonna copy and paste it since I already have them typed out, so I don't have to spend a lot of time typing them out. So we're gonna use all the characters. We're gonna use lowercase, uppercase, our numbers, and symbols. Okay, so next thing, we're gonna go password equals dot join. If you remember this, we're gonna type in random dot sample, and then we're gonna pass in our characters variable, and then 10 to generate only 10 characters for our password. So this is our password generator right here. Okay. So if I print password and then call the function, run it, you will see that our password is here like we did in the previous video, but we're using way less lines of code, right? All right, so what's happening? So I'll show you what's happening here. So basically we use this function. I explained this in the other video, but we're using something different. Before we use random.shuffle, okay? Random.sample will allow us to pass in our characters variable and then only call 10 of those characters, and each time they'll be shuffled around with the sample method. So that's it. That's pretty simple, right? We refactored it into something way more simple. Okay. Our next thing we're going to do is we're going to start planning ahead. So we know that we're going to create a UI around this password generator, and each time that password is generated, we want to make sure that we're not generating on top of a password that we already have, which creates something longer and longer and longer. We want to always generate 10 characters. Okay. So we're going to make a variable called text box entry. Okay. So this is where our password will go to. It's going to go into a little message box so that we can copy that text there. And then we're going to use a delete method, and then we're going to pass in 0 so that no characters are there. And we're going to use tkinter.end. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, there it is. Okay, end. And then next, we're going to go text box underscore entry dot insert 0 password. Okay, so that's going to insert our password into the text box. All right, moving on. Now we want to create our copy to clipboard function. So we're going to go define function copy to clipboard, open and close. And then we're going to call that pyperclip class. So pyperclip dot copy method. And then we're going to pass in our text box entry and get the text inside of our text box entry. So that's what's happening there. All right. Next thing, we're going to create our UI. And the first thing we got to do when we create the UI is that we need to create the background, the gray background for that UI, which is, we're going to call it our canvas. So I'm going to name a variable called canvas equals tkinter.tk. And I'm just storing our tkinter class inside of this variable, and I'm going to reuse it. Okay, so we're going to go canvas.geometry, and then we're going to give our canvas a size. So we're going to make it 512 by 128 pixels. Okay, so that's going to give our size. And then the next thing, I want to make sure that the canvas cannot be resized. As you know, in some applications, you can resize things like this application here, but I don't want that happening. I just want a small dialog box that cannot be resized. And then last thing, we're going to give our canvas a title so that we see the title of the application that we're using at the top. So we're going to go password generator. Okay. All right, moving on. Now it's time to create some buttons. So we're going to name another variable, generate button, and we're going to equal to using tkinter again. And then we're going to use the button method. And then we need to pass a couple arguments. So the first argument is canvas so that we set it on top of our canvas. And then the next one is text so that our button has text. So we know what it is. So we're going to call it generate password. And then the third argument is the command that's going to happen. And the command that we're calling is our password, is our generate password function. All right. And then we need to do one more thing, which is called pack method. And that makes sure it parents the button to the canvas. So it's putting everything together when I use that pack method. All right, next thing is our dialog box, and we're gonna go txt box equals tkinter.string variable. Okay, And this will just allow us to enter text inside of our dialog box. Entry equals tkinter dot entry. And we're going to put it on the canvas. txt variable equals text box. Okay. All right. And then we need to make sure that when it launches, that our cursor is already inside of the dialog box. And then when last thing, we always make sure that we pack it into we need to pack it so that it's parented to the canvas basically. All right, last thing is our copy to clipboard button. Okay, and it's like the same thing we did up here. So we're just gonna recreate that. So we're gonna just do CPY for short because we already used the word copy to clipboard for our function. So I'm just doing a short method. Underscore button equals tkinter dot button, and then same arguments that we're passing again. So canvas, our text, just copy to clipboard, and then our command is copy to clipboard function. Okay, and then we pack it. So we're gonna pack it. And then lastly, we got one final thing that we need to do. So we've done everything, and now we need to make sure that we can actually show our UI. And so in this module, the directions are to always have the main loop at the bottom. So we're going to go canvas dot main loop, and this will just allow that UI to actually execute. Okay, so let's test it out. Let's see if we did it right. We'll run it, and there's our password generator. And if I see if these buttons work, so every time I'm pressing the button, it gets deleted, the current gets deleted, and a new one gets inserted. So that's what's happening. And then we also have our copy to clipboard. And so we could test that out also. If I open up a notepad, paste it, cool. So our copy to clipboard works. So, and then we have our name up here, which we added password generator. So the name's up here. We named our buttons, generate password. We named copy to clipboard down here, right? And when I open the application, my blinking cursor starts in here, which is the focus, right? So everything is working in proper order. Our size is right. And let's just try changing some things. So let's try changing this to true. So true. Okay, let's try doing it again. So now I should be able to resize this to whatever I want, see? And so if I change it back to false, right now I should not be able to resize my application, right? So I can't even hover over to where I see the resize icon. So I can't resize this at all. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. We did a lot of things in there. We cleaned up our code. We did what we call refactoring again. We did a lot more simple lines of codes to create that password generator in the terminal if we wanted to. And then we added some more lines of code to create that UI. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Stay tuned for more videos. Make sure to subscribe and like this video also. And peace to y'all out there.